everyone, and welcome to our first Friday Forum. I'm Diana Martin. I'm the Executive Director here at Hourglass, and today we're going to be talking about refugee resettlement in Lancaster County. Our speaker today is Valentina Ross, the Director of Church World Service. Since 2014, Valentina has welcomed hundreds of refugees and immigrants from all over the world, helping them successfully integrate within the Lancaster community. Valentina is going to give us an update today on some of the recent refugees from Afghanistan, as well as providing background on what the refugee resettlement process looks like and some of the programs and services of Church World Service. We'll have about 15 minutes for questions towards the end. And for those of us who are joining us virtually on the live stream, you can just drop your questions in the chat and we'll work to integrate them into this discussion. Before we get started, I want to thank our first Friday Forum sponsor, Rogers & Associates, and also the Ware Center and Millersville University for hosting us today. All right, thank you. Welcome, Valentina.
Thank you, Diana. Thanks, Hourglass and First Friday Forum for having me here. And thanks all of you for coming here to this conversation about refugees and refugee resettlement in Lancaster. So before I start talking about refugees and refugee resettlement, I would like to tell you a little bit about me. As you can probably notice immediately from as soon as I open mouth, I'm not a native of Lancaster. I was born and raised in Italy, and I went to school in Italy, and then I started my professional career in Italy. And then when I was a younger woman, I got a job offer from the United Nations, and I moved to Peru, where I lived for over 6 years. And in Peru, I met my husband, who happens to be a US citizen, among other things, and he got a job offer here in Lancaster, and he brought me here. And this was many years ago. I built my life here. We bought a home. We raised our daughter here. And I became a US citizen about 10 years ago. So in my life, I moved 2 times across borders to a different country. And therefore, I'm an immigrant. And moving was not easy either times. Both times I had to, learn a new system, make new friends. I had to learn how to find an electrician when lightning struck my house here in Lancaster. And I had to do it in a language that was not mine. So it was challenging. It was something that I had to learn. And yet again, I was fortunate because I was able to come here and to go to Peru with a job offer, with the safety and security and stability of having support. And I was able to take my belongings with me. So I was a privileged immigrant. I can't even start to imagine what it is for someone to wake up in the middle of the night because there are bombs falling on your roof, having to grab your child by the hand and run, and continue running without taking anything else with you except your child until you arrive to a country where you can possibly feel safe. And this is what refugees do. This is who refugees are. So I do not think that being an immigrant gives me the full perspective of the hurdles of that refugees face when they leave their countries. But being an immigrant gave me at least the impetus to work in this field and help others who had it more difficult than me. Because I deeply believe that no matter the country you're from, no matter the language you speak, no matter your past and your background, every family deserves safety and dignity. So today, I have a few items that I would like to discuss with you before opening to questions. I would like to talk about church service, who we are, and who we serve, who refugees are. And then I would like to give you an overview of refugee populations that have been resettled to Lancaster over the years, and give you an update on Afghan refugees, because they've been on the news quite strongly these last few months, and I know that everybody wants to know a little more about that. I will give you an overview of our CWS programs and our integration framework. And then I would like also to go over ways that we partner with the amazing Lancaster community for the provision of services to immigrants and refugees. So, Church Service, who are we? Well, we are a global nonprofit organization founded in 1946 in the aftermath of World War II. And we are active in about 30 countries. In the United States, we have offices in in 22 states, and we happen to be one of 9 voluntary agencies that contract with the federal government for the provision of services, resettlement services, to refugees who have been admitted through the United States Refugee Admission Program. Here in Lancaster, we've been working for almost 35 years, resettling thousands of refugees from all over the world and providing a variety of services. So who are refugees? So based on the United Nations definition in 1951, that was provided in 1951, refugees are individuals who flee their country because of a well-founded fear of persecution due to race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group. And they are unable or unwilling to get back to their country of origin. So there are 2 elements to this definition of refugees. One is a geographical element. You must be out of your country of origin to claim refugee status, and you must be unable to go back to that country of origin. And there must be, and you must belong to a particular group that is being persecuted in your country of origin. And of course, there are many other immigrants, and we serve some of them here in the United States. And the definition of their status is different based on their, on where they are or why they left their country of origin. There are internally displaced people. Those are individuals who have been forced to flee their home, but they have not crossed international borders. There are asylum seekers, who are individuals who seek protection from, they have crossed border and they seek protection due to persecution in another country, but their refugee claim has not been processed yet. There are many different migrants and immigrants who may have left their homes for a variety of reasons, including personal or economic, or even due to violence and fear, but who do not belong to a specific category, and therefore do not qualify for refugee status. Like thinking, for instance, of Central Americans who flee their homes due to gang violence, but they are not considered persecuted or refugees for that reason. And there are stateless people who do not have, happen to not have a citizenship in any country. Okay, so in 2021, we can say with a certain level of heavy-heartedness that the world finds itself in a refugee crisis. There are over 80 million individuals that are displaced, and 26.4 million of them are refugees. Approximately 50% of these individuals are children. So the refugee crisis, of course, due to different causes, and in some cases, they may be global, geopolitical, and long-term circumstances. In others, it's due to local conflicts. But it's definitely a crisis. And the majority of people who leave their homes, they find themselves especially refugees who cross international borders, they end up in countries where they end up living in situations that don't offer many options. The great majorities of them live in refugee camps that have very limited opportunities for anybody, if no opportunities. You know, education for children is very limited. There is pretty much no employment opportunity, very limited food safety, no or limited health care. And only a fraction of these individuals, of these refugees throughout the world, have the luck to be resettled to a third country. That fraction is way less than 1% of the total refugee population. So it's usually the most vulnerable individuals who get referred to a third country for resettlement. They don't get to choose to which country they get resettled. There are 27 countries around the world that offer refugee resettlement programs. And unless an individual already has family members in one of them, they can get sent anywhere. So how many come to the United States, and how does that work? So the refugee resettlement program in the United States was created in 1980. And it's the capacity to resettle refugees and the number, the admission ceiling, is determined by the President of the United States every year at the beginning of a fiscal year in consultation with Congress. It's called the admission ceiling. It's determined through presidential determination. The President says in consultation with Congress how many refugees can be resettled to the country. Of course, that annual ceiling, which is the blue line, tells us theoretically how many can come. The orange line tells us the actual refugee arrival numbers to the United States. So when the program was created in 1980, in the aftermath of the Vietnam and Cambodian wars, then the number was set very high. Then it went down. But for many years, it remained, let's say starting in 1995, it remained on an average of 90,000 individuals that could be resettled to the United States every year. And if you see that line, the orange line, the actual number of arrivals was very close to the admission ceiling until 2002. And that was after September 11, terrorist attack happened, and you can see that the admission ceiling was not lowered. So there were still, in 2002, 70,000, a ceiling of 70,000 refugees that could be admitted to the country. But the actual arrivals were not as high because the government put in place additional screenings, security screenings, and therefore arrivals slowed down a little bit. But where I want to get to is that the admission ceiling was not lowered, not even under a Republican administration at that time after such an event, because the program has always been considered a life-saving program that was supported in a bipartisan way by all administrations. So on average, the admission ceiling remained at about 90,000 individuals until 2016, when the Syrian crisis pushed President Obama to increase the admission ceiling to 110,000. And so you can see that little peak over there in 2016, the arrival increase, actually. But then soon after, we had a change in administration, and the new administration was not as friendly to refugee resettlement. It paused the program for a few months. It imposed a ban on individuals coming from predominantly Muslim countries, and refugee arrivals decreased sharply. And of course, in 2020, the COVID pandemic put a further halt to refugee resettlement. For several months, no refugees were allowed to come. And when they resumed at the end of summer 2020, they started coming, trickling down pretty much. So the arrivals have remained quite low, even throughout 2021. This year, until the end of September, we have received 85 individuals to Lancaster. And I'm not quite sure about the total number for the country, but it was quite low. But this past spring, the new administration, the Biden administration, increased again the admission ceiling to 62,500. And at the end of September, it increased it again for the new fiscal year to 125,000. So this seems a very high number, but in reality, it's way lower than in other years that we had our refugee resettlement program. And we are quite sure that the country will not, at least in 2022, will not admit that high number of refugees because of several reasons. One of them is that there is still a COVID pandemic, especially in the countries of origin. Our clients don't necessarily have access to vaccines. And also because the capacity to process refugees overseas has been decimated during the last few years, and therefore it's been now rebuilt, and it's not as fast as it was in the past. In Lancaster, well, our arrivals in Lancaster also have decreased during the last 6 years. This graphic shows that historically, we have been resettling approximately 250, 300, 320 clients every year until 2016, when we started receiving Syrians, and arrivals increased to, we had 407 arrivals here in Lancaster. But then, as you can see, the following year, arrivals started decreasing, and as I said, this year is not still on the graph, and there is a specific reason. The fiscal year has been extended, so we don't have the final numbers yet. But this year so far, we have received 85 individuals in Lancaster. And this big pie, colorful pie, shows you the nationality of the refugees that are coming to Lancaster. Since 2015, so the last 6 years, the majority, this big red slice, is individuals from the Democratic Republic of Congo. But we have clients from all over the world. As you can see, there is a large slice of individuals from Somalia that we have received, some Syrians, people from Burma, and many other nationalities. You can see that there are several nationalities from countries that were part of the former Soviet Union. These are individuals that come through family reunification application. It's called the Laudenberg, that is for religious minorities in former Soviet Union countries. And what we can expect moving forward is that the people from the Democratic Republic of Congo will continue coming in large numbers. We can expect that Somalis and Syrians, now that the Muslim ban has been lifted, will come in higher numbers. Most likely, people from Bhutan and Burma will decrease, but certainly there will be an increase in people from Central American countries, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. We are already seeing those. You can see a very small slice of 17 people from Afghanistan up there. So during the last 6 years, we have only received 17 individuals from Afghanistan. But we can certainly expect to receive more refugees from Afghanistan in the future. Now, the Afghan situation, we have all read on the newspaper what has, the big evacuation, the Kabul airlift, and that was done in a hurry, and that approximately over 100,000 individuals were evacuated from Afghanistan because they were particularly at risk. And currently, approximately 70,000 of those individuals are on US soil being processed to be resettled to local communities. So they have been brought to military bases, safe havens in military bases throughout the country, where their paperwork is being processed, and they are receiving medical screenings and vaccinations. Some of these individuals, a small part of them, are individuals who helped the US Army while in Afghanistan. Those individuals are eligible for a special immigrant visa. And that visa gives them pretty much refugee status and eligibility to receive all refugee services, including a pathway to citizenship after 5 years of arrival. There is a small percentage of these individuals. The great majority of them are individuals who either work for US contractors or US nonprofits, or they were in some political role in Afghanistan that made them visible, and they express clearly their opposition to the Taliban regime. And therefore, they were particularly at risk for their lives. These individuals do not receive a special immigrant visa. They are being processed for a humanitarian parole. And this is a temporary visa that we understand is being given for 2 years. The visa confers them, of course, a status that, a legal status here in the United States, allows them to work and to receive any government benefits, but doesn't give them a pathway to citizenship. So it's temporary. It's only for 2 years. And the understanding is that each of these individuals will have to apply for asylum to make a case that they can't go back to their country in order to obtain a pathway to citizenship. And this is going to be extremely heavy on our court system. So we are definitely advocating for an act of Congress to make sure, something similar to the Cuban Adjustment Act, that will allow the whole category of individuals who have been approved under humanitarian parole to be in the United States, to have that pathway that allows them to apply for citizenship after a number of years that they have been in the country. Right now, all the resettlement agencies have been asked how many of these evacuees that are now at the camps they can receive until the end of the calendar year 2021. And CWS Lancaster said during these 3 months we can receive 120 individuals. So that is what we expect to receive. The government hopes to resettle all these individuals by the end of the calendar year. We're a little skeptical about that. The start of the resettlement process has been a little slow. We haven't received anybody in September. We started receiving Afghan evacuees in October. And so far, we have received approximately 30 individuals. But we are still foreseeing a surge in the arrivals in the next few weeks. And I would say that the resettlement process has been also a little disordered. We received notification of these arrivals with 2-3 days of notification. By the time we learn that they're coming here, to the time they actually arrive, we only have 2-3 days to set up all services, including finding housing for them. So it's been it's been, we strongly, heavily relies on the community to help us do this process. I will say a little more about that. But I would like to talk a little bit about the services that we provide to our clients, all of our clients. So I know that many community members know our resettlement program. That is what we are known for here in Lancaster. And that is a program that lasts between 90 days to 8 months. But in reality, we have 5 programmatic areas in our organization here in Lancaster that offer a variety of services for up to 5 years of arrival, when most of our clients are eligible to apply for citizenship, and that are form part of an integration framework that consists of 3 phases. The first one is the welcoming of the clients, and that's what our resettlement program does. But then, and we offer the basic initial resettlement services to the clients who we just want to make them feel safe and settled in a new place. And then the second phase consists of helping our clients obtain self-reliance, so finding them jobs, teaching them how to pay their rent, or how to enroll their children in school, and all of that. And then we hope that our clients, and that's our goal, our final goal, will finally thrive. And many of them do. They do become business owners, they purchase their first home, and they fully participate in the community life and contribute highly to it. So, oops, too much. So the first program that we have, the resettlement program. The resettlement program offers very similar services to both the refugees that I was talking about and the Afghan evacuees under the Afghan Placement and Assistance Programs. There are 2 different programs, both funded by the Department of State, by Bureau of Population, Refugee and Migration. These are the basic services that we provide upon arrival. So we the first thing is we find housing for our clients. We set up the housing with furniture, with food, and we provide them clothing. We welcome them at the airport. We schedule medical appointments for them, so make sure that, and we transport them to their doctors. We make sure that they are seen and the children receive all the vaccines to start school. We enroll the children in school. We enroll all of the adults in ESL classes, either in home or with other organizations in the community. We provide cultural orientation classes to all of our clients to make sure that they know how the community works, and you know, we talk about transportation, we talk about safety, we talk about a number of topics that may be treated differently in their home countries. And then we provide an employment orientation to them. We have a very robust employment program that lasts not only during the initial resettlement period, but for 5 years. So that means that we help our clients with classes to learn what to expect when they find their first job in the United States. And we talk about items like being on time at work, how important that is, or you know, what an HR department does. We help them prepare a resume. We help them find an employer that has an opening that may be of interest to them, may be a good match, and we help them apply. We take them to the job interviews. We make sure they undergo the orientation, and we transport them to their first day at work. Now, we do this not only upon arrival, but if a client comes back to us after a few months and says, well, I got that entry-level job when I arrived, but now I speak some English, can I have something better? Then we help them get an upgrade. And we do that, we help clients for up to 5 years that want to get better jobs. And One would imagine that finding a job for someone who doesn't speak English may be quite challenging. You cannot imagine how many companies come to us and want to hire refugees. We cannot help all of the requests that we get for how many we get. They are way more than the number of clients that we are receiving. Every single company in Lancaster County wants to hire refugees. We have many of them. And that is because refugees are amazing employees. I mean, they may not know the language, but they really come here because they want to build a better life for themselves and their families. They're really determined to make it happen. And so they are serious about that. And employers know that. And of course, refugees not only are great employees, but they are also more likely than Native Americans to start their own business after a few years that they have arrived to a new community. Okay, extended support service. So for our clients, we also have an area of extended support. So after the initial resettlement period, we may have some clients who have some special needs, especially medical needs, that may require some extra attention, a higher number of medical appointments, or anything. It can even be someone who doesn't have a medical need but has a special need because of their particular family situation, like for instance a single mom with 3 kids who cannot find her footing in the community. Then we can enroll them in our Preferred Communities program. That is a program that provides intensive case management for up to 5 years of arrival. We also have an extended case management program for families with children for up to 3 years of arrival, and we provide holistic case management to make sure that the family can thrive and not only survive in the community. And under this area, we have this year we have started a Girls Who Code program. It's a program that we enroll girls, middle and high schoolers, and we teach them how to code. Of course, it's a basic level class, but it gives them that idea and it connects them to volunteer students in IT departments at Millersville University, and also with mentors that show them that it's possible to have a career in technologies, in STEM, and thrive. And we are starting our second cohort now, and it's a really amazing program. And for the whole immigrant communities in Lancaster, not only refugees that we resettle, we have a legal immigration program. The legal immigration program provides legal counseling assistance and assistance with applications for green cards, family reunification applications, and we help individuals who go through the naturalization process to become American citizens, and a number of other services, of course. And that's open to the whole community. It's a fee-based program, and it's a really good program that we are also very famous for. Last but not least, we have grown a community engagement and leadership development program. It's very strong, and its goal is to empower both the local community and the refugee community to come together, work together, support each other, and ultimately make Lancaster a stronger community. And under this program, we work with, traditionally we have worked throughout the years with many faith-based groups who provide co-sponsorship to our clients, but we've also more recently widened the scope of this program to include many community-based organizations that want to sponsor refugees, like neighborhood organizations, higher education organizations, yeah. And the tasks that they take upon themselves with the newly arrived clients, they may vary from just welcoming them at the airport and setting up their housing to providing transportation to appointment, helping their children, tutoring their children for when they do their homeworks, or teaching ESL. It's a variety of tasks that they take upon themselves. And of course, that it can be done by organizations, but we also have a very strong volunteer program. I have to thank the amazing Lancaster community because we've had so many offers from volunteers. We do throughout time, but these last few months have been really an outpour of support, and I also have to apologize because we don't even have the capacity to process them all in real time, so we are taking our time, but we will get there to each and every one of them. Our volunteers are fantastic. One of the things that our volunteers do provide is housing, especially now that with the Afghan program, we are receiving clients with such short notification. We have built the host homes program in which community members, if they have an extra bedroom and they want to host some of our clients upon arrival temporarily, they can commit to doing it, and they show that welcoming aspect of our community from the very beginning. In addition to working with the community, as I said, we want to work with the refugee community to empower them so that they can take on leadership roles in it. We have had a number of programs through time. I'm not going to mention them all, but Matt is here. He can also give you a little more information eventually. So we have facilitated voter registration events for refugees under political elections. We have helped census efforts, since last year, we started a youth journalist project in collaboration with the United Ways of Lancaster. And we have a journalist who teaches classes to some young refugees who are in their last years of high school or in college. And we've had some amazing pieces coming out of that. And our latest program, it's the New Neighbor Speakers Bureau. So we got a grant from the Community Foundation to start this program that really empowers refugees to have their voices heard. So we know that, nobody wants to hear my story or Matt's story for that matter. Everybody wants to hear the stories of refugees themselves who have come out of their communities, made the journey and arrived here and built their lives here. That is what is really interesting. And so our program teaches them how to do that in a compelling way, and to do it, in a way that can also be remunerative for them. Because many people want to hear that. And so we are close to the end of our first cohort of speakers. We are actually going to have a graduation event here at the Ware Center at the beginning of December. So we're really excited about that. Finally, I just want to talk a little more, and say an additional thank you to our community. So as I said, we at Church World Service receive an incredible amount of support from the community, and we are totally aware that we would not be able to do what we do, to do our work, if it weren't for the amazing support that we receive from volunteers, from organizations, from other service providers, from any individuals here in the community. I really think that, it's people that make places. And Lancaster is quite a nice place to live. And that is not only because we have a new building or it's the people that make the place. It's the people that come out when there is a need and they help and they lift their voices and they support others and they are welcoming. Lancaster has been, for the 35 years that Church World Service has been here, instrumental. And in return, Lancaster has received all of the benefits that refugees and immigrants bring. Because the community has become more diverse, more vibrant, more enticing to others from outside, and it has grown. We should not forget that, in Pennsylvania, if it weren't for immigrants and refugees, the population would be declining. And, we should be appreciative of the fact that there are this influx of people coming in and bringing their strengths, their resources, their diversity, and making the communities as strong as they can be. So with this, I conclude my presentation. Thanks for being here. And first, I would like to, I don't know if I have it. Well, I would like to remind you that in a couple of weeks, it's going to be Extra Give. And it's an amazing event. Proof of what I was saying before, that Lancaster is a fantastic community. It's the largest philanthropic event in the United States, apparently. So the CWS has an amazing portfolio of events that we are going to have that day. Please check it out on Extra Give. One of them, our main event is going to be an art exhibit in which we are going to exhibit and auction 22 pieces of art created by local artists who were inspired by the stories of refugees recorded here in Lancaster for StoryCorps. So we had this agreement with StoryCorps. We facilitated for StoryCorps the recording of 8 stories, 8 conversations between refugees and the community member that helped them while they arrived or was instrumental for them to achieving something in their journey here in Lancaster County. So it's going to be a really nice, we've received some of the pieces. They are impressive. Our local community of artists is fantastic. So please, the event is going to be at 2 Dudes on Poplar Street from 6 to 8, Matt? 6 to 8. Yes. So please show up. It's going to be fantastic. Yeah. Any questions? Good question. Am I still connected? Okay. Good question. Challenging question to find an appropriate answer for. There are some programs in place for some refugees. As an example, there have been programs to assist medical professionals reclaim their credentials and start working in the medical community. We have supported the U13 and Union Community Care working on that. And we have many former Cuban clients who came through the medical professional program who are now actually working in the medical community. But you are absolutely right. It's very challenging for clients who come from, for individuals who come from another country to have their credential revisited and make them work here in the United States. Many individuals who come here, especially the refugees, even if when they do have credentials, they don't have access to them because a lot of the times they are obtained in countries where there is no longer a system that can provide proof of those credentials. Another, the ones who brought their titles with them, it's the United States do not recognize them. So there are some advocacy efforts to change that, and I know that at the state level there are also some, but we have been working more than in advocacy for that with individuals that we recognize being, exceptionally capable in some of their fields, and we've been working with them to make sure that they can obtain, that better job or start working in their profession, or, if we can help them recover some of those credentials by, signing up for certain classes or things like those. But yeah, there is way more work that can be done there. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for all the information so far. This is Diana Martin. I was wondering, I was reading that it's becoming more challenging to find safe, affordable housing in Lancaster City for your refugee clients. So what does that kind of look like on the ground? Where are you able to find this housing? And is that a change? Are people moving out to other parts of the county? And what does that mean? Do they have the other services available there? How does that kind of look?
Yeah. Thank you, Diana. Yes, finding housing in Lancaster City has become, especially affordable housing. Affordable housing is difficult to come by these days. The city is gentrifying and more, and the affordable housing options that we had access to in the past are not necessarily longer there. We are doing two things. One is we are expanding the geographic radius of resettlement, and I will say a little more about that. And the other one is we are reaching out to the community to help us, especially with that temporary housing support while we look for a more permanent option. In terms of the geographic expansion, yes, I would like to say that as we can foresee that refugee resettlement will grow, we are going to open a new office, a new CWS office in Harrisburg. We are in the process of opening that. We placed an application with the Department of State to start a program in Harrisburg at the beginning of the summer, and it's been approved. So CWS as an organization is going to open 10 new offices. One of them is in Harrisburg. We are now, as I said, in the preliminary stage. We are looking for space. If anybody knows of any available space in Harrisburg, that would be, please let me know. And but we are hoping to start operations there quite quickly at the beginning of 2022. And we have a plan to resettle about 100 refugees in Harrisburg per year, at least to begin with. So how did we come to decide Harrisburg? Well, Harrisburg, we did an analysis together with CWS Global, our global organization, of communities where there is more affordable housing than in other locations. There is employment opportunities, where there are certain indicators in place that allow, a refugee resettlement program to be successful. And in Harrisburg, we know that the community is very receptive there is already a refugee resettlement program in place there, although it's very small. There are many refugees who live there, who have migrated there from other communities, so they can provide that support to newcomers that the newcomers need. And especially there is a large Nepali group, but also a large Somali group across the river. Many of the services that we need for our clients are already in place. So it seems like an amazing community to start a program there, and we're very excited about that. Mm-hmm.
Hi, Bunny Buckwalter. A question about your source of funding. I heard you say that you get some grants, I believe, from the government. So are they grants based on the number of people that you settle? You know, how does that work?
So the Refugee Resettlement Program is a government program. It's a program that is funded by the Department of State, Bureau of Population, Refugee and Migration, and yes, it's funded based on the number of people that we receive. But here locally we have, of course, as I said, a number of programs, and the funding source may be local, through foundations, local foundations. We may fund some programs through donations from the community. Or you know, others are also federal funds. For the whole CWS Lancaster, about $3 million. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Brian Davis with High Associates. How, on a national scale, how is it determined where the refugees are placed throughout the country?
Yeah, good question. So there is the 9 resettlement agencies actually come together, and in the past they did it on a regular basis every week to decide where the clients would be sent and resettled. So generally speaking, you know, they are resettled in locations that have a refugee resettlement program, and these refugee resettlement programs are geographically located in certain communities because there has been an analysis that shows that there may be support in that community, including all of those conditions such as housing, and employment, a receptive community that could support refugee resettlement, the presence of other refugee groups already there, etc. As for the individual cases that get resettled, you know, that there is a similar process that takes place during the allocation of the cases. So the first thing that is looked at is whether the refugee families that must be resettled has U.S. ties in a specific place. That means if they have family members or friends or any other community support already in place there, because they may just go there because a family, a husband, a wife, if your parents are already there. If there are no U.S. tie, no support in the United States, then there are other considerations that take place, including the community capacity to receive these individuals that include considerations such as the language capacity. Does the community have a group of people that can speak Tigrinya, or you know, or Dari, Farso, whatever language that refugee group speaks. As an example, you know, in the past we had to say no to the resettlement of certain individuals because we didn't have that language capacity. Another consideration may be if the community has the capacity to provide certain medical services to the individuals who are being resettled. So there are all of these considerations in place, and the allocation process, as I said, happens family by family in locations, of course, that are already predetermined. But what happens is the resettlement agencies, once they decide that they would like to send the family to Lancaster, they send us their information. They send their biodata, which includes information on the number of family members, demographic data on them, their education, and some professional background on them, their medical history, all of that information so that we can make a decision. And of course, if they have family members already in the area, they gave us the contact information so that we can contact them and make sure that they are still here and that they can provide that support to the family that is coming. So we review all that information before making a determination as to whether we want to, or we have the capacity to receive that family or not. And then, based on that, we either assure or not assure the case. Yeah. Yeah.
We might just take this as the last question. We're getting close to time, but then we can hang out afterward and you can ask the questions directly with Valentina.
How are you being impacted by the people from the southern border?
Locally, locally, I would say that it impacts us as human beings, yeah. It's more of an impact that depends on the humanitarian concern that the crisis brings. So we definitely want to see that a population of asylum seeker receive a treatment that is humane when their cases are processed, and that the United States government builds up the capacity to process them. Because right now there are backlogs that are huge, and the treatment is not necessarily the treatment with dignity that these individuals deserve. Some may, but we haven't seen any surge. Yeah.
Great, thank you. We're just going to stop right there because we're out of time for today. But maybe you can hang out a little bit afterwards if people have questions. So I'll just so that people in the live stream can hear me, I'll talk on here for a second.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Valentina. Yeah, I just want to thank Valentina and all the staff at Church World Service for the information today and the work that they do in the community. So really appreciate you being here. A video recording of today's talk will be made available on our website next week and on our YouTube channel. So please feel free to share this information with people in the community who would benefit from learning more about refugees in Lancaster and the work of Church World Service. Our next First Friday Forum will be held Friday, December 3rd, and that will be focused on childcare, which is another hot topic right now in the community. And we're going to have a really interesting panel. I hope that you can join us for that event. To receive invitations to all of our First Friday Forums, become an Hourglass member. You can do that on our website at hourglasslancaster.org. Hope you can all join us. Until then, have a great weekend. Thanks.
Thank you.